Holy steeplechase, we are live. Welcome to the Chain Dogs podcast, where we talk about everything theme parks, amusement parks, roller coasters from all around the world.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. That really confused me because I was hearing like myself twice then for a second.
Yeah, the stream was really late to go live.
I was about to say, I thought, is it gone live yet? Because I'm watching it on YouTube.
Yes. So yeah, thank you for joining us. If you are listening to this on podcast form, just let you know we do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. over on the YouTube channel, Chain Dogs Podcast YouTube channel. So yes, how are we all doing? You all good?
Great.
Yeah. Oh, I'm ready for this one.
Obviously, this week we are joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Andy Hygate. How you doing, Andy?
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, and look at that background. It is like you're set up for the Chain Dogs, aren't you? Really?
Did you copy Andy's, Sean? Is that what you've done? You've copied his?
Yeah, I know. I saw it before, and I based it all around that. But no, thanks so much.
My subtle advertising this evening.
Yeah,
as well.
It's got to be done.
It's got to be done. You got to take all the chance you can. I mean, the only reason most people come on this podcast is to flog their new
to flog something. Right, Enzo.
I mean, Emma only come on so she can tell us about a new vlog that's coming out this week. That's the only reason.
I never have a new vlog, so that's a lie.
You've been doing pretty well,
Emma. Is it Garden Centres of the World?
Yes, yes, it is, Andy. Yes,
Bent's Garden
Christmas.
Yeah, the blue light section as well. Yeah.
But no, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you who don't know, Andy is also as well as being director of operations at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, he's also a big enthusiast like us. So it's very much, we are going to do a section where we're going to fire some questions at him. So obviously get your questions in the chat at the right time, otherwise we're going to miss them at the minute if you do them now. We also got a lot of lists of questions we got off Twitter, so we'll go into them as well. But we're also going to do our usual thing where we go for the news, and Andy can join us on that because you've ridden a lot more coasters than any of us here.
I was going to say, yeah.
So we are going to go on to the first news item, which is Wildcat's Revenge is open. It's got an opening date June the 2nd.
Looks good.
So nice of them to open it just for my birthday.
Yeah. Is that your birthday?
Revenge.
It is my birthday.
Oh, nice. I mean, I was gonna say it's nice of them to open it before we get there, so that's good.
It's not about you, it's about James.
It's all about me.
I must say, seeing the trains on the track, I was hoping the Zero car would look better.
No,
and it hasn't redeemed it still being on the track.
What do you think of it, Andy? What do you think?
I like it. It's different, you know.
If it was looking forward, fine.
It
frightens me. Looking to the side, it's just really odd.
Just giving you a side glance as you go down the hill.
Side eye.
Side eye.
Everyone down the hill.
Yeah.
Nah.
I mean, the ride looks great though. Doesn't it?
Yeah, the ride looks.
The ride looks amazing.
The ride looks brilliant.
I mean, I remember I have been on the old version, and I remember it being, well, it was a bit meh.
It's funny because I liked the original Wildcat. It was Lightning Racer that I didn't really care for. Lightning Racer was the one that I was just like, is that it? But Wildcat I always enjoyed. Like I know a lot of people thought it was like it had gotten really, really rough or anything.
I heard awful things about it.
I heard bad things about that.
Yeah, everyone talks about how rough it's got, and I never thought it really got that bad, but it's what it is. Obviously, it's going to be way better. So
it looks really fun.
It seems like, I mean, it was a bit like, I didn't know when it was first announced, because I was like, it just seems like everything is getting RMC'd now, and I was like, when is enough? And then
when is enough? Especially
the iBox, right? But then I did Anniversaries, and then I was like, no, I want more of this in my life.
He's like, no, okay, I get it now.
Carry on.
I mean, I got it with Sardra, but Anniversaries
Yeah.
is the one for me that was just like, yeah, this is nailed it for me.
Hasn't it got some long upside down bit? Well,
yeah,
it's got the longest one or something.
Longest stall, is it? Is it
the longest one?
No.
No.
Well, well, according to just like the marketing around it, is the world's tallest underflip.
Ah, the underflip.
Underflip.
I love RMCs. Like,
Just love the way they...
Let's
That's the
just
question of the
create a
year.
new element so that we can call it a world's first.
yeah.
Do you not remember when Storm Chaser opened at Kentucky Kingdom and like they basically just created a whole shit ton of just different names for like random elements which otherwise would just be like rolls and hills.
Yeah,
but they started calling things like trick track double up and tip out corner and step up underflip. I'm like, what are you on about, you weirdo?
These guys are making new like, skateboarding trick names, like
Yeah.
Just nailing them off. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
But yeah, that's become a thing now.
That's a
But
thing, isn't it?
you're going on it, aren't you, Sean?
Yes, yeah. I was hoping it was. I mean, I was pretty sure it was going to open in time, but it's just nice to actually, have it in confirmation now. So
Yeah.
But it's just another one of the I can't wait to do it. But in that park already, there's so much to do already, and I'm already stressed about how I'm going to fit it all into one day.
It's hard when you visit a new
It's going to
park.
be interesting to hear about your thoughts on like which park has the like the best coaster lineup out of the ones you get to, because like in my opinion, Hershey Park had like one of the best coaster lineups before getting this. Like adding Candemonium, the B&M Hyper, to what they already had, like pretty much solidified that for me. Now it's like you're looking at like top 3 in the US, and I don't really think that's far-fetched or that debatable, honestly. Like their lineup is deep now.
Yeah, it has got a good. It's got a good lineup. To be fair,
I actually forgot about that ride. It actually looks really cool.
Which one?
Candemonium.
Candemonium.
I don't like the name. Freaks me out.
Yeah.
Why?
It just does.
Have
Like,
you
it
got
sounds
on,
too nice.
Is it because of that whole
Sounds
candy
too
case?
nice. It freaks you out that it sounds too nice.
Yeah.
Have you
know
gotten
Candyman, that
on
was it, the horror thing.
Have you gotten on much RMCs, Andy? Like,
I haven't really. I've been quite unlucky, really. But I have done Anniversaries, which I was very fortunate.
Really?
We did one of those things where I could literally sit in every seat on the train without leaving the station.
No,
wow.
So was it like?
Yeah, boy.
It was. I was very, very spoiled, and that was. I mean, that's one of my favorite coasters. I think it just was amazing. But I went to Wallaby, Holland, to ride Untamed, and it was closed. I was gutted. But I've done. I've also done that single rail at Great Adventures. Jersey Devil, is it?
Nice. Yeah.
How was that?
And actually, there, and this wasn't organised or anything. I was allowed just to stay on the train. They were running 4 trains, and the park was dead. And it was coming back into the station, and it just doesn't stop in the station. You probably know. And I was literally moving from seat to seat down the train. But I don't know. People say the other ones are more intense. I think it looked going to be more intense than it actually was when you were on it. I don't know, but no, I mean they're fantastic rides. I mean, I do vaguely know Darren and Jake from RMC, so nice. I have to say nice things.
Yeah, always
contractually obliged.
No.
No, don't start rumors.
Don't start that.
Are we just moving it from Thorpe to Blackpool?
RMC Nash.
So
it's at the bottom of the NDA, is it?
I mean, the UK needs one.
Yeah.
Who's
I
going
would
to do it?
say.
It needs a
Somewhere.
hybrid of some sort. That's what I'm saying. Whether it's
Here we go.
RMC or not, but I'd love to see a hybrid.
Yeah.
But yeah. So shall we say hello to people in the chat, by the way? Because we haven't even. There's a lot
yes.
of people in the chat. I'm not going to say every name at the minute because there's a lot.
There's 52
lot-
people
There's
watching.
50
Yeah, a lot of
people
people
watching.
come to see you, Andy. You need
That's
to come
crazy.
on more often. But yeah, I won't. Everyone's just saying RMC confirmed. It's not confirmed. Andy did not say that. Andy did not say
What
that.
have we done? No.
RMC Blue Flyer is hilarious.
Hey, that'd be good.
Could you imagine?
Little inversion through the tunnel. Nice. Let's go.
Right, moving on. So Portaventura have announced that they're doing a virtual queue for Hurricane Condor, their Intamin drop tower, which is it's just interesting because it kind
Random.
of
Random out of nowhere.
obviously they're offering it for free at the minute. So this to me insinuates that it's just testing the tech out. Maybe in preparation for Uncharted, their new coaster.
Probably.
Just seeing how that goes, but it could. We talk a lot about Portaventura, how it's a brilliant park, but it just suffers from the crowds and prioritizing the fast passes. So could this eventually be a way that kind of saves that a little bit? But I don't know. What do you think?
I'd be happy if they let you choose your seat on Hurricane Condor, please. Because
it's random.
Nobody wants to stand up. Let's be honest.
So for those who don't know, with Hurricane Condor, you can do obviously with a lot of these Intamins, you can do stand up and sit down, and different variations of it. But
it's like Apocalypse, isn't it?
It is, But Portaventura don't let. Well, it's gone now. RIP. But with Hurricane Condor, they don't let you. They don't let you choose what side the tower you can do.
That'd cause me to have a breakdown. If I was in that queue for like an hour and I just had it running through my head, it's like I could potentially be stood up on this monstrosity. I'd be crying in the queue. And I get to the front, they'd be like, stand up. I'd be like, I'm going. See you later. No,
see, that's the thing, because I didn't get to do it on Apocalypse. That's the only one that I can kind of go and try stand up on.
No, I remember the last time I rode,
hoping to get stand up. And then I'll sit down. I'd be
well happy. To be fair, last time I did Apocalypse stand up it was horrendous. That stand up flawless. When it tilts you forward and your bum just slides slowly forward, and you're just like, no, this is horrendous. No, thank you. I'll sit down, please.
I wish I could remember how I felt about
in general.
Condor. I know I've
it's
ridden
high.
it. I just don't remember any kind of feeling I had on it.
It's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, I wrote it in 2016, so it's been a while, but
it is a good one.
I usually like the second gen Intamin drop towers are my favorite. It's just been.
It's not as I always say this, but it wasn't as forceful as the littler ones. I don't think. But,
no.
So if you want the force,
that's usually the
ones are better, but it's just how high it is. It's great. It's like anything at Portaventura.
The views are stunning. Yeah,
it's what makes Shambhala for me is just the views are so nice. You can see everything
on a sunset night. Oh yeah.
Oh god, you're so nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But same with Blackpool as well. Them views on a summer evening.
Can't beat a Blackpool sunset.
Oh, you cannot.
It is.
How many do you think you've seen? How many do you think you've seen over your career?
From doing leftovers.
When you really notice it is on a Walk the Big One. So if you get a Walk the Big One where you're getting one of those sunsets, you can just see on the people who are doing it, their face is just, it's an unbelievable setting when it's like that.
Real.
But I mean, but I've been up it when it's blown a gale. So you have
I remember.
I
remember when the PB event from 2021 that we did. I remember on one of the evenings after the park closed, I went down to the seashore and took pictures of the sunset because it was one evening where the sunset was just gorgeous. I remember I took a picture of it, put it on Twitter, and I got loads of comments from people just saying I didn't say the location, and everyone was just like, "Where is that, mate?" Like, where is that? You're in another country right now. I'm like, no, I'm in Blackpool, mate.
It's true.
Just reminds me
From
of
weather
our
speeds.
sunset rides at Liseberg.
Oh,
On Valkyria at sunset. That
Oh,
was
that was beautiful.
stunning
That was.
view.
when you come round that
Mm.
corner and you obviously got the drop, which is really cool. But then like the view of Gothenburg in the back, it's stunning. I love that. I love that back so much.
It was so good. That's the great thing about the walk in the lift hill on Big One is like you can do it in so many different settings. Like when me and Luke did it, we did it.
Yeah.
I think it was it like the
Illuminations at
first,
night.
it was Illuminations. So
Yeah,
and it was
I
like a
mean,
really
when you do it when it's like if you do it in September or
Yeah.
October when it's dark and it's literally just the lights going on for what seems like miles. It's pretty. What we get is a lot of people that do it earlier in the year and then come back and want to do it again.
Yeah.
And having walked it, I mean, I've probably walked up it at least 500 times and I don't get bored of it. So
Wow.
See, I want to do it, but I don't want to do it. Like I'm terrified of heights. And it was like, do you know, like in your heart, you want to do something, but you feel like your head will just be like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
That's
try
one thing.
it.
You should try.
I'd try it if we could go at a very slow pace, please, Andy.
We do.
Because don't rush me on them stairs. Please.
For me, Emma, walking down was the hardest. Like that was the hardest bit of it. That was,
I couldn't be at the back. No. I wouldn't.
What
I'd
you-
have to be,
what
like,
you-
right in the middle.
What you kind of notice is if it's more to do with if it's windy because the structure moves and that's good.
Tell me
You
about.
want it to move because you don't want it to be brittle. So,
Yeah, you want the ride to be.
Yeah,
but when
you
you stood on the ground, it feels quite different to if you're like at 150 feet, and you can tell when people are are worried about it. But then if you get to the top, inevitably people are just blown away by it, and then they want to.
Well, that's it. That's why I want to do it so much, because I just know that when I do get to the top, apart from feeling like accomplished that I've actually done it, just the views and just everything would just be incredible. So I do think I'm going to have to attempt to push myself to do one at some point.
You should definitely come and do it.
Not soon. Don't push it. But at some point.
Try the other one first. It's lower. Walk the Woodie's lower.
Walking a wood. Yeah, I reckon I can do that. I might try that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
really
Joe
wanna
did.
do that.
Joe did that. Joe did walk the Woody, and that kind of like helped to get over a fear of heights a little bit, because like it you're still going up a bit of a height, but it's not like doing the lift hill of Big One. You know what I mean? So, and she was so happy she did that. She cried afterwards. She
wow.
Yeah, I
couldn't
think.
hang that, but she loved it.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I never
I'll
got
think
to
about it.
do both of those before moving out here.
We'll sponsor you for charity, Emma.
Yeah.
And then you have
Don't
to
do the pressure.
Do a charity walk.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Maybe.
So can guys can we just keep an eye on the comments just to see if anything interesting comes up, because I can't keep an eye on it all.
It's just
So,
Carl saying the big one.
just bring
Simi
anything
says
up
every
you
time
think
I go to Blackpool, it's like I'm doing Celebrity Cyclone. Hopefully next time I go, the weather will be kind to me.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was sunny today.
Andrew said when he did Walk the Big One XL, it was raining. You could barely see the Blackpool Tower.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's-
I mean, the
that's
worst case
happening.
scenario. You get all that way up and you can barely see anything.
Yeah.
Oh god. Not rain
But-
as well as no.
Yeah.
At least you get to say you did it in the rain. It's a
Yeah, that's a
story.
cred.
Yeah.
That's a cred,
Story.
right?
Yeah. Okay, so in other news, Park Warner Madrid obviously opened up Gotham City Escape recently, and it stalled.
On the
Hey.
Yeah, it did.
In the worst possible place.
Who'd have thought putting trims at the top of a top hat would slow it down?
We
Like we
discussed
said,
this.
though.
It's more of a hold.
Yeah. Well, it's
more
definitely
hold
is
than
now.
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
definitely
a hole.
Yeah, it's definitely a
It's
hold.
But surely it's just, it's one of them things, and it's designed to do it. I mean, they held Velocicoaster up
Right.
on the top hat during testing for like
Mm.
forever. I remember like was it Midway Mayhem, I think, was doing videos, and then he went back the day after and it was still up there. Like they were just testing it. Like, oh, it looked like it not moved. Yeah, it's done what it's meant to do, isn't it? Stop there.
They were
But-
very quick with recovering it. To be
So,
fair.
Yeah.
I
Just
don't
climb
know
up
this
and
story. What was
So-
how did they do it? They just pushed it, or
Yeah, literally just a
Give it a
cherry
shove.
picker because they had a large enough
Yeah.
cherry picker. Went up,
Oh.
pushed it back, so it rolled back to the launch, and they just relaunched it.
Yeah, just
Best
relax
way
Oh,
to
there.
do
James,
Jesus.
tell,
I don't
tell
know.
us tell us your crane story about stealth. It's an interesting fact.
Oh yes. So I know of the one time when Stealth got stuck at the top.
Yeah.
The only way that they could physically recover it was to get a crane, that is a mobile crane tall enough that would fit on site, that has to come all the way from Milton Keynes. So when they call it, it takes about 3 hours at least for them to get a crane out so that they can do an evac.
I mean, this was told to us like
It's-
during. The
It's
stealth
not happened with
end
people
scenes.
on it. It's only
Yeah.
ever happened with when it's been empty. But
This was a while ago.
Okay.
They might have their own crane now, but
How
like,
tall is
no,
it
no, they
anyway?
wouldn't.
Is it 200 feet?
205.
205.
205, yeah.
That's what they say.
It's 238.
Is that above sea level or?
Oh, let's not do that.
It's 238 above sea level.
Let's not do that. Let's not bring that old one back. Bloody hell.
We've actually had the height record since 2006.
So I don't know how much I don't know how much you can go into this, Andy, but obviously, like we saw when Icon had the same issue. Was it last year? You had to pull it through.
Yeah.
Like that was done really quick.
Yeah,
How long was that done in?
Wait, this happened last year?
Was it
Yeah.
last year? Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
it was.
last year. I'm sure it
Yeah,
was.
I mean-
on roll.
We've retrieved the train from there within a day.
Yeah.
It's more difficult to do because if you're open, obviously you've got other stuff going on. So
Yeah.
the period of time that you can do stuff like that is shorter because you're bound by whatever the opening times are. But you know, our engineering team are good at it, at dealing with stuff. So yeah, I mean, the one that always shocks me is the Revolution. That can be reopened 5 minutes later.
Wow.
Yeah. I remember, the shuttle went, did it, and then literally like 2 days later it was fixed or something. I remember it. Was it that was last year as well, I think. Oh no, it was this year. Was it this year? When the shuttle went?
You know, when you have big rides, you know, stuff happens, and you have to, as long as you have stuff in place planned, and so once you know what you're going to do, then that's when that stuff sort of comes into play. The best thing with Icon is you get that if you can get it into the second launch, and you can launch it from there, from a standing stop. I mean, I've been on it once when it's done.
Oh!
That, it's awesome.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen
wow.
I've seen
Yeah.
it go from the second launch. Yeah.
I've seen it. That looks amazing. Like you
So
should
does
sell
it
that as an
launch
experience.
backwards first and then back into it, or is it a complete standing?
You move it to the, so it's right at the start of the second launch to do it. But yeah,
It doesn't roll back like Taran, or doesn't go like back, you know, because obviously it has to go up the hill to come down, so it just shoots from the back. I think we saw that during the testing runs, actually.
If it's anywhere on the launch, you can reposition it to wherever you need it to be. So if it's going from a standing stop, you would move it to the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is not a lot of track to get you over that element.
And it's the highest part of the ride. So
It
It's
feels like an intimate launch, all right?
Yeah.
That looks mint.
Yeah, I loved it when we was on that event, and you showed us the underpowered and the powered testing.
Yeah,
You're quick to be like, you won't ever
You will never get to ride this. I'll never forget that. No, me and Mikhail stood there in the queue line, like filming, and he was like, "So this is the one you will never get to experience."
Everyone just died
The way that when you explained it, everybody watching was like, "Ooh," and you're like, "No."
Don't get any ideas.
No.
We were worried about that event because we obviously this is the one where we went in the garden, right?
Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
We were like, it's just a garden, and then we took everyone in there, and they were all like, "Oh,
It was so
we're
good."
taking photos,"
was
and everyone
It was-
seemed to love it. So
it was
I
like-
always
It turned
forget.
into a library, didn't it? It turned into a
Yeah.
library. Everyone was just dead quiet, just taking photos, going, "Can't believe we're in here."
Yeah, it was.
How am I allowed in? That's the golden wall. Like, everyone was just doing random shit. Just like, that's that. I've seen this on the right.
Yeah. I bet that's funny for you though, Andy, because these are things that you see and do every single day, and then it's like
I mean, it's events like that when we, remember, obviously like the fan club one that we did recently when we took people under the Derby Racer, and just the reaction to it, because people are obviously, you don't necessarily think that's under there, and the scale of it and so on, and because we see these things a lot, for us it's inevitably, if you work at an amusement park, one of the key things you have to remember is that the guest doesn't see it because you become used to it, it's only at times like that you really remember the reaction from people. Even we did that walkthrough on Wallace and Gromit, and people were amazed, and you kind of forget that when you're there a lot, so you have to hold on to that. I think it's important. It's something we actually push with our staff, to make sure that they remember that, for the guest, and it's, they might visit us once a year, and it's and they're seeing Icon for the first time or whatever. So it's important that we remember that.
Yeah.
Going back to Icon real quick, just something I'm curious about. Did you how can I word this properly? Did you happen to have any sort of not seeing eye to eye potentially with like the launch speeds or like the acceleration speed on the launches at all? Just because I'm curious, because obviously there's a lot of talk that people have about, well, the first launch really being like, it's just to get it going, but the acceleration rate on it could be a little faster than seemingly a lot of people desire. I'm just wondering if there was any sort of like not seeing eye to eye on it, sort of like you had one idea, Mark may have had another, like on just the presence of the launches within the ride experience, I guess. Or was it kind of just like you both had the same kind of idea about it, and like that whole implementation went smoothly?
Yeah, I mean, we enjoy working with Mac. We have a strong relationship. There's similarities in that we're both family businesses, and there's a established relationship there. And at the time, the main focus was that we had decided we wanted a multi-launch coaster, and you put that out to tender, and you see various suppliers and so on, I think in terms of a Mac launch, I think people know that the launches are not going to be the most intense launches, but we knew due to the space limitations that we had, that to find a long enough straight piece of track, although of course they do it with humps and so on now anyway, but I don't remember there ever being anything to in fact, it was a lot of it was more about the train, and that we wanted the seats to be comfortable, and that was one of the sort of key factors in it. So no, I don't think there was certainly never. And I think obviously we're a few years on now, and people have ridden a few more of these coasters and so on. And enthusiasts are looking for different things as well. For sure. To a regular guest, it's that's never been on a launch coaster before, then Icon's going to be amazing, which I mean, it is
blow them away, won't it? Yeah,
totally. Yeah, for sure.
That's the thing. Like, I'm really interested to do Copperhead Strike, because that's all about like hang time, right? And that's what I feel like the first half of Icon was. So I never really had that anticipation, but you are right, a lot of people when it first opened were like, oh, I thought it was going to be like well punchier, and it's like, well, it is just a boost, and then you hit the second launch, and
I mean, you've also I saw some of the things you were saying. I've not actually ridden Helix, bizarrely, and people obviously say similar things or about that, and I kind of get that, but certainly for from our perspective, Icon did exactly what we wanted it to do.
Yeah. And also them seats. I remember the first time I ever sat in it. And I was like, this is the comfiest,
so good.
Yeah.
the comfiest seat I've ever sat
Comfiest
in.
roller coaster in the UK. I would
First time I
Oh.
sat in that Icon seat, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see why everyone.
Yeah.
Like
I see why everyone loves how
Yeah.
comfy they are.
I mean, the Mac engineering is like, they're at the top of their game. They really are, and those trains are beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Amount of
amazing.
times I've just wanted to get a wrench, take the seat home with me.
A couple of years, you'll be able to buy one.
Yeah, keep an eye on the website.
Oh God, I can't. I don't even want to.
No, don't do that. No, don't do that.
You could make such a good computer chair out of one, couldn't you?
Yeah,
I
you
dunno.
could. Yeah. Better than mine, anyway.
Well,
With
going
the lap
back to
bar as
the
well.
topic,
Yeah.
Gotham, Batman City Escape. They did make basically gaming chairs into the train.
Yeah,
So very much they look like gaming chairs.
Secret lab chair.
I've got a controversial question to ask you, Andy, about Icon. And it's to do with remember you taking us around the PB Express and showing us the Immelman from like directly underneath.
Oh no!
Here we go.
You're gonna go
So,
there.
yeah, I think it's an inversion.
You think it's an inversion?
I
Yeah.
do.
I do as well. When I saw it from
the
underneath,
correct opinion, so
Yes.
it looks like an inversion. It looks like an inversion, 100%. But I don't.
I
It's
kind
hard.
of, I mean, everyone's got their own opinion, haven't they? And,
Yeah.
and that's fine. And my sort of view is if your feet are above your head, then it's an inversion.
Yeah, yeah. And if you watch people on it, it looks like it.
See that just leads on to what I saw on Twitter recently, where loads of people were saying the junior spike on Mandrill. If you're on the back row, is an inversion.
It feels like it. Yeah. It honestly
see John
feels
People
like
are
it.
counting that. So
What did he say? What did
you
John
see,
Burton say?
You see John Burton chant
John
into
Burton,
that,
yeah, he said.
Yeah, he
If
said.
you're on the back row, he classes it as an
No,
inversion.
he
on 7th row.
It was either the actual like the backwards row.
Yeah, that is the
or
back row.
row 6 or row 6.
No, it was row 7.
Was it row
the
7?
backwards
He
row.
said one. Yeah, he said one of those. Yeah, he only on that one though. Like it's
Yeah.
not one of those.
Because that's why I loved it on. That's why my favourite seat is the 7th row, because when you're riding it backwards, it feels like much more of a thrill coaster because of that first spike. You actually feel like you're going backwards on it. It's so good.
What is the launch like?
It's powerful. Like I think
The
also
first launch backwards is like okay,
Yeah,
little
it's
little
okay.
launch. But then once the train levels out, coming back through the station is when it proper kicks in.
It's
and
because
it gets you there.
It's the element. It's the element of a rolling launch plus the fact that you're going through a station. So I think it's also a perception thing.
Quick.
Yeah.
That everything is so close, so it feels like really fast. But then you come out of the station and you get like a nice bit pop of air time, ejector, which I was not expecting. But yeah, it's really really good. So me and Joe went to when they were constructing it, and they tested it for us inside the station. And back then, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's changed now, but are they still? They're still not letting people stand inside the station. I don't know if that's changed yet.
No, it's still not
But
changed.
we could stand in the station when it was under construction and watch it go through, and it is like honestly the wind that comes off, like the wind that comes off it when you're in that station is unreal.
Imagine big train.
Blew us away.
Probably not. That's probably why they're not letting kids stand there. Then.
Yeah,
because that'll be for kids. Because it's it's predominantly because of the height of the air gates, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't think
so.
No, it's not that because they're pretty high. They're pretty high gates.
They're pretty high, but I don't know whether they're high enough for a 40-mile-an-hour launch for a station.
Yeah,
because they're still below.
Take a kid out.
It's not an actual fence. I think
so. Basically, what we're saying is
Vekoma could get over it quite easely.
Yeah. So basically, what we're saying is Vekoma have been doing it wrong all of these years with the boomerangs.
Well, I think it's just this. Yeah, it's just the speed of it. I think that's the key thing. Is that you
lot
feel
bigger
it?
than Luna by the looks
Yeah.
of it. Yeah.
Oh god, yeah.
But Luna's
Oh no! I was talking about the
old boomerangs.
The old boomerangs,
oh,
not the
the
junior
actual
ones.
boomerangs.
Oh,
actual
right,
boomerangs.
okay, yeah.
Yes.
Did they tend to? Because I've only done the only ones I've done of that haven't really got enclosed stations. They're like semi-open. I don't know. I've not really done many American coasters, but the ones I've done in Europe anyway.
What, the old boomerangs?
I can't think of any that are like fully enclosed stations.
I'm trying to think. Speed of
me?
Sound's
There was
enclosed,
some, man.
but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they fill the air gates after it's come back through the station. I don't think they send you straight in.
For some reason, Mikhail, I thought that them old school boomerangs didn't exist. I thought they forgot they existed. When he was talking about, I was like,
everywhere.
No, but I just
they are also everywhere.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what? And then it clicked. And,
I remember the super inverted ones had like a massive sort of
the giant inverted ones.
Yeah,
they look terrifying.
I've still never done one.
Yeah,
I've still never ridden one. It's really annoying.
They're really good.
I just got to shout out the chat here for all of the Hygate puns.
Pretty high gates.
What is this?
Oh yeah, special topic just for Andy. This was we saved this one.
Of course,
all these months.
Be Kira, wouldn't it?
Kira was in there with the Hygate puns from like the first second.
Yeah, it was literally the first comment that she put.
Kira's one-liners are like they're gaining a reputation very fast. In our shop.
So we'll go straight into questions now, I guess. And obviously, if you ever want to Uno reverse and just ask us questions about us as well, Andy, it's getting too much. Just let us know. But the first thing is like, what made you an enthusiast? Like, what was it? What you can remember? What really turned you into like this coaster fan or theme park fan?
I grew up in Kent, and I was obsessed with well, at the time Dreamland was called Ben Bon Brothers Amusement Park, so this was like in the 80s, and I was obsessed with it. And when I went on there was a Schwarzkopf looping coaster called the Looping Star. They've had a few Looping Stars, but this was sort of the original one anyway. And I remember going on that, and it just had a lap bar. And because it went upside down, that just blew my mind. And sort of from that point onwards, I just, every chance I got. Bizarrely, that one of my friends, their dad's partner worked next door to Chessington, and used to drive all the way up there every day. And we used to hitch in the car and go. So I used to go to Chessington all the time. And I remember going to Thorpe when Thorpe was mainly educational, and then there was like a space station Zero, which I loved. And so on, and so it just kind of grew from there really, and I never really got tired of it. It's just something that there's. I think the cool thing about this, being an enthusiast, is that there is always something new. There is always something to talk about, and there's always, they're always pushing the levels of what can be done, and yeah, for me, it started with that coaster.
That's incredible. Love that.
That's great.
I always find it really interesting hearing people's stories about how they got into parks from like people who grew up down south, like grew up around the Chessingtons, the Thorpes, the Dreamland Margates, Adventure, like all of those, because it just seems like a completely different world to like us growing up in the north and having Pleasure Beach and Flamingo Land and like what Valley.
It literally was just Pleasure Beach.
Pleasure Beach. South
Reason I'm an enthusiast. Just going to Blackpool all the time.
Yeah.
So I remember Alton Towers seeming like a distant dream.
Yeah. Like legit.
And
that's what I thought of Thorpe Park.
Yeah.
And then by the early 90s, or when I went to the first time I went to Blackpool Pleasure Beach was the year the big one opened, and I remember paying £4 at the little cash desk at the front and
get a ticket.
and queuing up, and I liked it so much I went on it twice, which and I remember seeing the Revolution for the first time. Actually, the Revolution is one of my favorite rides. And I remember
I love Revolution. I love Revolution.
That platform terrifies me.
That little pop of airtime off that first. Oh, it's so good.
The
It's
ride's
just a
great.
really good, really good
Please,
little ride.
could you
and-
invest in a lift? So you
Yeah,
batch
please.
a train's worth into the lift, get you to the platform, or straight on the ride. No, you
What?
haven't.
So you didn't have
I
to go
don't.
over the
That
bridge.
You don't
is
have to go over the
terrifying.
bridge.
It's all
I've got
part
on
of the
that bridge
experience.
before and gone back down the stairs before. You know, like
Oh,
queuing over that little bridge. I've got to the top and thought, I can't do this, and gone straight back down again. I hate it.
Yeah.
Especially when it's windy. It's
Yeah.
horrendous.
So that's
It's a hard
using,
work,
um,
for the people the ride operators that work on it, it's a hard ride to work on because you literally are. There's no shelter, and so if it's raining, you know, if you're at the park and it's raining, you think of them because they're there all day.
Oh yeah, 1000%.
I always feel like it when you're in that station because of how the station is. It feels more like you're going on like some kind of zip line or something. It just feels like you're going on like a really big thing.
Yeah,
because it is just so open. I love it.
it's an
It's the
experience,
way
isn't
it
it?
shakes.
Yeah.
Oh.
I like that about it.
Yeah,
I do.
it's really cool.
So
From our perspective, it's a great ride. I mean, it stood the test of time. It's you know, but the great thing about it is that
still
the
really
footprint-
popular.
Yeah, and people always say, "Oh, it's the double launch," which was
He says the world's first multi-launch coaster.
was quite funny. But, you know, from our perspective, the footprint of the ride is so small. Really, you know, and we have to make every inch of the park count, and so it was a perfect ride for us. It was a really smart decision when they put that in.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I just don't like getting on it. If there's no queue and I can get straight on, I'll do it. And I love it. It's the first ever coaster that I grayed out on, like coming backwards.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
So,
What,
but
Emma,
it's
is
the
it just
stairs.
the bridge section, or is it just standing on the stairs as well? What is it?
It's standing at the top. Like if I could go straight up the stairs and I'm not queuing, I kind of, you know, like you look ahead and you just do it and you go up. Like no one could come near me, speak to me, or touch me, or nothing. I have to go straight up. Like sod that bridge.
Emma, don't do what the big one.
You can't do the stairs forever.
No,
And
for
then
me
it's
it was
like, I get
just
to the
stood on the
top,
bridge
it's
for
like-
ages.
The bridge is
I don't
horrible,
like that bit.
and then
We
even
were
just
stood
studying
there a
like the
while.
air gates. Like,
I think it adds to the experience, but I'm not really scared of heights. But this
Scares
is a
the
question
life.
that Matt Coaster Giant had was: were you ever scared of heights, Andy, or were you ever like? Did you remember having a fear of certain rides or anything?
No, I mean, there's a certain awareness that you get. So, to me, walking up the big one is a nothing now because I'm impressed by it, but it doesn't scare me. I do remember. I do remember when I worked at I used to work at Oakwood years ago, and they had a ride called Vertigo. Which I think they've still got actually. It's like a swing ride, one of the ones where you have to pull a lever and it releases it and so on.
Yeah.
Anyway, and we did some training with the engineers where we climbed up it and then had to abseil off.
Wow.
And that I actually suddenly, when you're away from like the structure and whatever, and you're not used to it, and whatever, that was actually proper terrifying. And the heights don't normally bother me at all. So I wouldn't recommend abseiling off one of those big arches.
Yeah, that sounds terrifying actually.
Yeah,
That's so
nightmare.
because that's so different. Because I've abseiled down the side of a building, but I guess if you're just doing it like you just did it straight down. Like,
yeah, well, it was the shape of it, and because you end up like leaving the structure, and you're just sort of dangling there in the air. It was very bizarre. Yeah, I got a round of applause from the engineers when I got to the ground, which was patronising.
Yeah. That's it.
Were you able to actually stand once he got to the ground, or was it just legs just went?
Yes.
Just
I
fell
was,
down onto the ground.
I was
Upward angels.
relieved. I think,
So just going back to Blackpool real quick. I have something that I would love to ask anyone who's closely affiliated to Blackpool Pleasure Beach, especially in the in the 90s and early 2000s. Really, just you mentioned going to Blackpool for the first time, like when the big one opened. Do you have much like memories or sentimental memories or memories in general of like just the buzz and the atmosphere around the big one opening, and like what that was just like in the moment, like when it like the year it opened and like the years that followed, because that to me just seems like such a, you know, such a hallmark time period within the UK coaster community.
Well, 94 was a massive year. I mean, I didn't work in parks then, and I remember we searched out Blackpool Pleasure Beach deliberately because we wanted to go on it, and the same for Nemesis and the same for Shockwave.
Right. Yeah.
So you know, it was an exciting time, and we're, you know, in some ways we're kind of seeing a little bit more of that again, like today.
Definitely.
Which is exciting, I think. And I think the big one is certainly for if you don't visit Blackpool a lot, or if you haven't been, I think it's such a sort of ride as as you drive into Blackpool on the motorway, you see the tower and you see the big one. And I can imagine, you know, for people, and certainly for me in the early 90s when I did it, I was so excited to see it because there was nothing of that scale in the UK at that time.
Definitely not.
And you know, and I think it still has that kind of impact on a lot of people today. When you're an enthusiast, you kind of, I can't speak for everyone, but I think you become so familiar with these things that sometimes you kind of forget. I get asked almost every day, and this is not being rude to our guests at all, because they, you know, it's not a big key part of their life. They're going there to have a fun day out and enjoy themselves. And they'll say, oh, where do I get on that big red one? And I get asked that, you know, a couple of times a week at least, and I understand why, you know, because they just see a big structure, a big ride that they want to go on, and I don't blame them. But I think it, you know, it definitely has. I can't imagine the park without it, and I think that's that says it all really about that ride and its and what it means to the park.
Yeah, because like the way it was celebrated during those times, like in the days where it had like 3 train operations and stuff, like when so many people could get on it, could get like night rides on it, and you know, when the park would stay up like past midnight and stuff, like it seemed like such a celebrated time, like for basically everyone, for people who worked at the park, for, you know, for all kinds of guests. Like I thought that one of the great things about Blackpool Pleasure Beach is there's people that have been working there for, you know, 40 years. There literally is, and you get to hear what they say, and they obviously remember working like that. And people obviously, you know, the park was open at midnight and so on and all of that stuff. But obviously, times have changed, and you have to react to that. And I think the buzz thing that you're talking about, I still see that. For me, particularly in the summer, on a busy day, on a day when we're late, you know, when the lights start coming on around the park, and you know, there's of course I'm biased, but there's nowhere really better to be, I don't think. It's really when the park's kind of magical, and that's true for a lot of parks in Europe that are open late sometimes and so on. But yeah, it is a very special place, and that's why I understand because I feel like that. I understand why other people feel like that about it as well. No, I've said that before, like to these guys, like when we've had events there, like during the summer months, and even the one in September in 2021. It's just like there's a certain like a certain atmosphere and a certain vibe that Pleasure Beach has on those summer evenings. Yeah, that you don't like. It may whether it's a case of it being just like a different sort of feel to the Merlin parks, but you just don't like in my opinion anyway. Like you just don't feel that at Towers. You don't feel that at Thorpe.
Yeah, like it's I think like a big part of it is just how well lit the park is, and it's like it's kind of it's been set up to be open at night as well. The atmosphere is just really good. And again, the best thing I love about Pleasure Beach is the fact that there's just rides everywhere, and everything interacts with each
Yeah.
other. It's like a
in the middle of
spaghetti
it.
bowl, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
No,
It is
100%.
cool for that.
Yeah, absolutely love it. I've got I've got another question here. This is one of my own questions, and it's a bit of a random one. But do you believe in ghosts, Andy?
I've been sat in the ghost train at night with
this is what I'm getting
like
at.
these investigators. They all had these little mobile phone devices or whatever for detecting. They were all winding each other up. In fact, some of our staff might have been winding them up as well. So making noises and so on. But of course, I think there's a ghost called Cloggy in the ghost train.
I was going to say, they turn up and you're just like, all right, Clogs. And then just carry on while they're investigating.
Do you know what I love about our ghost train actually is that we've never really finished with it. We're always tinkering with it.
Yeah,
that's what I love about it.
There's always something different.
Every season when you go, there's always something, and you go, "Oh, I think that's new, or that's changed, or they've just changed that little bit up a little bit."
One of my biggest memories of Blackpool is the first time I did the downwards chain on the ghost train.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, "Oh, turn
I like
around
the little bit at the bottom.
the door."
Yeah,
where you bang your head at the bottom. That bit. I always bang my head.
I don't. Is that because you're just too tall?
I think that was genuinely my first dip on a ride.
You're not going to say that you count it as a coaster.
No, but it was my first dip. It was my first experience of going down and up on a ride when I was really young.
It's also really long. I always think that about I actually remember the first time I went on Alice in Wonderland. I was thinking, wow, gosh, this is actually really long ride. And well, I think that all of that's good stuff. I love our dark rides.
Yeah, well, I've got another question actually asked by Kira, which like relates into that. Kira said, one of my favourite things about Blackpool Pleasure Beach is the wide selection of dark rides, especially Wallace and Gromit. Which is your favourite dark ride, if you can choose? Which I know would be quite hard, but have you got a favourite dark ride?
I probably do. I probably do like the ghost train. I just think for the reason that I said before. Actually, do you know what? I do actually really like the river caves as well.
Yeah,
I think it was just a really nice, a really calm ride. And sometimes, you know, when you're saying about the buzz and whatever, it's actually quite nice sometimes, particularly if it's like a full-on day. I mean, for the guests to be going, it's like a little chill out for 10 minutes. It's actually quite a relaxing ride. So I've got the other bit I like about it is that building is actually really complex because you've got like the ghost train, Wallace and Gromit, river caves, you've got a bar, you've got a shop, all of that mixed into one building, and that's quite an unusual setup as well. And
I've always found that really interesting though.
Yeah, me too. I remember when it was the gold mine, you could see the cafe as you went round.
You used to go through the old. It was a chicken restaurant.
Yeah.
We still use it. We still use it for Santa. That's where Santa sets up camp each year.
Right.
Oh yeah. Because on Journey to Hell is that they have a bit where you walk through all the trees, right, and it looks very Christmassy. Is that like around the area where Santa goes in then?
Yeah, we did that to make it as easy as possible because the transition between Halloween and Christmas is actually quite short.
Yeah, it's so short.
But we use, I mean, from a Halloween perspective, the tunnels and the exits around in that building around Wallace and Gromit and River Caves have really come into their own because, you know, for a horror maze, to build that from scratch would just, you know, cost a fortune. And whereas we're making use of something which is perfect for it, which we've already got. So I'm pleased that we do, and also for people that come to us a lot, it's cool for them to go into those bits. And,
I was going through when I first went through them tunnels. I was like on edge, but also trying to admire and being like a bit nerdy about everything, being like pointing everything out and trying to find everything. It was so cool. But no, I love that. So yeah, I've got another one. So from amusement and adventure, from an operations perspective, which rides are the most challenging to run and operate, and which are the easiest? I don't know if there's an easy way you can say that, but
obviously the easier ones are the simpler ones that you would find on Nickelodeon Land, and the more. Although saying that, Icon is so well engineered that it's surprisingly easy to operate.
Literally, I was going to say like I can imagine Icon being amongst like some of the not easiest, but like in terms of just dispatching. Probably one
it's
of the
very
most
intuitive, and makes everything. You know, even everyone's sort of. If you're an enthusiast, I'm sure you've seen how the trains get put on and taken off, and it's a really cool kind of moment if you're not used to it and you happen to be in the station and so on. And obviously, I can make a direct comparison with some of our other coasters where it's not maybe as straightforward and so on. But, but yeah, it's a really good ride to operate. Although the other thing that's a bit sad about my job in a way is that I don't get to spend a huge amount of time doing that, which is something I'd really like to do more of. But in terms of challenging rides, Valhalla is obviously a challenging ride to operate because it's complex, and so on. And then I suppose the rides where, and this sounds odd, but a ride like Icon is great from a managing guest perspective, because once a guest is sat in the seat and checked they're secure, then you're good to go. On rides where that's not the case, it can become more challenging. So, a ride like the Grand Prix, which you might think is actually quite a simple ride, can actually be quite a tough ride to manage day in, day out. Not on the basis of you're reliant on guests doing the right thing at the right time and so on.
Yeah. So I used to when I was in university, I did work in holidays in the summers, and I worked at Hershey Park in Pennsylvania.
Oh wow!
And one of the rides that I worked on most frequently in my first summer there was one called Twin Turnpike, which was basically the same as the Grand Prix, and and it was a dual unloading and loading sort of platform, and on each side there would be 2 or 3 of us that basically have to work in unison to have guests, to be able to guide guests to doing the right thing in terms of getting into the cars, and for them to know how to, put the foot down on the pedal and like get it going and everything, and where to stop on the platforms and stuff, and making sure the kids could do it, and making sure the parents knew how to help the kids out when they wanted to drive and stuff like that. It's a lot to manage in the short amount of time that you have actual guests in the platform. So yeah, I can definitely see that.
Being a ride operator is a tough job because when you go on a ride as a guest, you see that bit for a few seconds while you're getting on and so on, and then you leave at the end. And whereas that operator has got to do that job consistently to a high standard, following a procedure for the whole shift, and it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, totally.
I've got a question here from Chris Ryan. Said, as you're a big coaster fan, who's that? Said, as you're a big coaster fan, do you have a top 5?
I don't know. Well, okay. I don't know about you, but I find that when I've been on a coaster recently, particularly if it's a new coaster, you tend to, like I said, I went on Iron Gwazi, and I'm probably raving about Iron Gwazi. I went on Velocicoaster, and like everybody, I'm raving about Velocicoaster because, so if you ask me what my top couple of coasters, then I'd probably say those. I do remember, so there's some standout. I say I'm a B&M fanboy, but I really do, and this is an odd choice. I really like Hydra at Dorney Park just because it's odd. It's a different shape. I like the fact it's got the JoJo ride. I even like the color scheme of it. That's why I've got a model of it.
Nice.
But one coaster actually that really blew me away, and I don't know whether it's the same now because I haven't ridden it for a long time, although I'm hoping to ride it next month, so fingers crossed. But is Maverick really surprised me. I know.
Bucket list.
That
is a bucket list coaster for me. Yeah, that is a bucket list coaster for me, 100%.
I really did like it. But then, sometimes you get real odd coasters come into the mix as well. I really enjoyed. There's a coaster at Motion Gate in Dubai called Madagascar, which is in the dark, and I think it's Gershon, I'm not sure. Anyway, but I was totally not expecting what it was going to do, and the way it was presented was great. And so I remember coming away from that and thinking, oh, wow, that was totally. And if you ask me what and I went to a lot of parks. When I was over there, if you ask me what my favorite coaster there was, I'd probably say that. Which is, if you told me that before I went, I would have been like, "You nuts." I would probably put some of those in the top. But then they always change, and I'm sure they'll change. I mean, Sean, when you go on your trip, I'm sure that'll shuffle quite a bit of it. So
it's what happens, and it does happen all the time because it was, I'm weird. Like I have Taron as my number one coaster, even though I've gone on loads, but are technically better coasters. But I've just got a soft spot for Taron.
You need to move Taron to a 0.
I know it probably does. But no, I know. But I had that one night ride on it. That just was one of the best experiences I've ever had on a coaster.
Yeah.
And I was just
you
like,
find it always comes back to the top.
Yeah,
like as it moves down, but then you'll re-ride it again because it's been like a year or two, and then you'll go, okay, and it'll move back up a few times.
That's literally what happened to me.
Because that's what I've done. Like Taron was my number one for ages, and now it's gone down to number 3 because, like Andy said, I've rode newer coasters and thought that's brilliant. But then I'll probably go ride Taron again, hopefully at the end of this year. I'd be like, oh no, it's 100% number 1 again. Yeah. It's so hard sometimes to.
Yeah,
it's a bit.
I've got it in 2 now, and I think it might go back to 1 next month.
Again, come on, move it to 0.
It almost
you need to do what Sean does.
It almost seems pointless, like ranking it, but it's just, I don't know. I just find it fun. I find it fun doing it.
It is fun to kind of.
I'm just glad that everyone knows how good it is during Winter Trom now. Like, my work is done. I don't need to say it anymore.
Stamp of approval. We're good to go.
So say if this might be one that I don't know if you want to answer or not, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Gosh.
This is from NF Attractions. If space wasn't an issue in the park, what ride or what coaster or flat ride would you like to see added to Pleasure Beach's lineup? Personally, from personal standpoint, I guess.
Well, I mean. Well, I used to wind up one of our engineering guys by saying, "Oh, if we were going to RMC anything, we should RMC the Big Dipper." And he was appalled.
Yeah.
How long have you worked with there for?
That could even
Does he still
be
work
on
there?
my mind.
Did he quit? Did he quit on the spot?
He walked out that day.
No, I just think this is going to. Don't get the wrong impression. We're not doing this, but I just think, wouldn't it be cool to get come off the lift? The ones that do the first drop, which is an inversion.
Yeah.
I just think if you wrap round the onion and did that. How cool would that be?
That'd be
as long as you don't touch Grand National, do what you want, Andy. You dare touch Grand National, and we'll be having words. I'm telling you.
It would be. That would be good on Dipper, but I mean, I think you'd have like people kind of handcuffing themselves to the ride. I don't think that
I mean, this is when you have like obviously rides that are I've been there for 100 years. Obviously but amusement parks, in my opinion, should always change and adapt, and that's part of the thing that's exciting, and you hold on to some of it because there's value in nostalgia and so on. I love the flying machines. I love the river caves and so on. I could add anything and it was down to me, and it's not down to me. But I'm curious about a B&M. I like B&M flawlesses. I just like them, and so that would be something that's of curiosity for me, really. That flat ride that's going into Canada's Wonderland looks quite cool.
I had a feeling that would get mentioned. It looks insane, and I really want one in the UK. Just
that looks like something that Pleasure Beach would get as well. I don't know why. I was like,
just bang one of them in for us, please.
So I guess some of those things. I suppose, like I said, I went on Iron Gwazi and came off going, that would be amazing. So I think I don't know. I mean, it's odd really, because we always say we haven't got any space, but actually we said we didn't have any space before Icon, and we managed to find it.
It's easy to find. Just Infusion.
That's one thing that makes me good at.
So with that, let me up the ante.
One at a time, people. One at a time. Stop talking over each other.
So with that, let me up the ante. And I'll put you on the spot. If you could get rid of one ride, or like one attraction or one coaster,
he can't say that. He literally. I know
that.
Say it. No, I'm joking.
What was that? Be a really good B&M flawless coaster where steeplechase is. I'm just saying.
But the thing with the thing with the steeplechase is that because it's the only one now, I think. When you've got stuff which is unique, and I see why enthusiasts say what they say about Infusion, for obvious reasons, but I mean the thing you've got to remember.
What are you laughing at?
What you've got to remember about Infusion is that for 99% of our guests, they see a cool looking inverted coaster that goes upside down multiple times, and they're right to think that, because that's ultimately what it is, and it's only because we know that they're what you would term as a cookie cutter coaster. Although I think ours is presented in a way which makes it not.
It does look stunning. It does look stunning. Infusion does look stunning. Just doesn't ride particularly well.
So that's
what you have to always bear in mind, isn't it? It's like it's the fact that most parks are trying to please 95% of their guests, which are just the general public, non-enthusiasts.
Exactly, that's it. It's like
they look at it and they go,
95 is putting it nicely. It's more like 98.
But yeah, it's 99.
It's like
99.5.
Yeah, because we're quick to say, it's rough, because we've done an array of coaster as enthusiasts. But for someone who might go to Pleasure Beach once every 2 or 3 years, they'll ride it and say it's incredible, because they're not comparing it like we will to a multitude of other coasters that we've all done.
I remember my brother. Exactly that. My brother, who's not into coasters at all, came and rode it and was like, "Wow," and that's because he had nothing to measure it against, and so I do. It's a good point. I don't. People get what they want out of a park, and enthusiasts visit a park in a way which your regular guest doesn't. In that, if you visit somewhere multiple times a year, your experience and your expectation and so on will be different to somebody that visits once a year or once every 5 years or so on. And as an operator, we have to try and cover everybody as best we can. And I happen to think that we obviously I'm going to say that, but I think Pleasure Beach really does offer something to both the occasional guest and also the enthusiast, and I think that's replicated in I see a really exaggerated version of it in for Disneyland, the original Disneyland in California. You see really the sort of fandom there for that, and I think. And I think we see, and I'm not saying we're on that scale at all, because because we're not, but we see a version of that towards our park, which you don't necessarily see to the same extent for other parks in the UK, and we're very much aware of that.
Yeah, definitely. And also, like, I guess like an attraction like steeplechase, because I kind of find steeplechase kind of scary, and coasters don't actually scare me that much anymore. That's the problem when you start doing them. You just so I kind of like doing steeplechase now and again, and I'm guessing
well, it's an odd position, isn't it? It's quite high up, so
it's very and it feels like very like open. You know what I mean? Even though you're not going to fall off it, it just feels so.
It does. One park I've never been to is Knott's Berry Farm, and I wish I could go and ride soapbox races there, just to be able to make some kind of comparison. But obviously that's not going to happen now. But it would be a nice thing to do, I think. And you know, a lot of people really do. We've had enthusiasts come over from America to ride steeplechase, and I've opened the third lane because they count each lane as a credit.
Got to get that yellow one.
Rightfully so, as they should.
It is free. I think we all know.
So, let's just talk about Valhalla for a minute, because obviously that's a big thing at the minute for Pleasure Beach. It's been in the works. It's opened. So obviously I think a lot of people are going to want to know, like, how did the technical rehearsals go, and like kind of what was the reasoning behind the technical rehearsals, because it was just so new for the UK to hear that kind of phrase, really, wasn't it? So
I mean,
I don't know how that's gone.
Yeah, I mean, there's a technical rehearsal was a term that's where you guys know this, but it's much more familiar at Universal, particularly, but in the States, I guess. And we used it because it solved an issue for us. And the issue is putting, because of the style of ride that Valhalla is, putting people on in quantity over a period of time was important for getting the effects parts to all work as they should at the right time and so on. And you can try and replicate that with staff, and it's, you know, the first people to ride Valhalla were staff, but you can never really do it. And it, you know, running something for an hour is not the same as running a ride for, you know, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. So it was, you know, it was really done to iron out those issues and so on. I think that's reflected in the change in feedback. And I do, you know, I understand people rode it early on, and that you could get a good ride or you could get a ride without things working and so on. But but certainly from an operational perspective, it was extremely helpful to us. And you know, and I'm glad that I am glad that we did it, and I'm glad that we've got to a point with the ride where generally people are coming off it and saying, you know, what a great experience. I said I went on it today, and I did, and you still never kind of get over the ring of fire bit on the water. I mean, you know, that's an awesome. So I understand if you don't get that, I would think, oh well, what's going on? But I think for the regular guest, if they're seeing a considerable amount of fire in the end sections of the ride, then they're going to be impressed by that, and that's a good finale for the ride. And technical rehearsal helped us to achieve that. There's from our perspective, operation, there's no doubt about that.
Nice.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, I know we've joked about my earlier opinions of Valhalla. You know, like I wrote it on the day, and I may not have been kind, okay, but I did say, like, because I spoke about it on here, like the day that I went, you know, and I said that there were some things that were off and on, and this wasn't good, but this was good and stuff. But I did say from earlier on, I still understood that it was a technical rehearsal, you know, and I even said, when I said, okay, maybe this wasn't great, I wanted to eat my words, and I can categorically state, and I said it on here before, that the ride compared to how it was on day one, compared to how it was a couple of weeks ago when I rode it, it's bloody phenomenal now, like absolutely phenomenal. And obviously those technical rehearsals and you know, maybe tweaking this and tweaking that has helped you achieve that mega ride experience that you have now. You know,
Yeah,
without
I mean,
the
we-
technical rehearsals.
Yeah, we're still tweaking it technically. I mean, the technical rehearsals ended, the ride is opened, and so on. But you know, with Adam that works on the ride, obviously had an idea of originally what he wanted to achieve, and you know, I think that we've been able to. It really needed, the ride needed to be updated and reimagined, and I think we have hopefully we have achieved that, and without losing the bits of the ride, the things that people really loved about the ride in the first place. And you know, and certainly I see guests every single day who come off soaking wet and but are happy. And that's
wet.
You know,
yeah, it's very wet.
yeah. I mean, I think if we had changed that to the point where you came off dry, I actually think people would be disappointed.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you want to get
No,
wet.
no.
Like that was, I find that the thing with water rides is obviously you go on a water ride to get wet, but also with the way the seating on Valhalla, you know, you can go on as a group of friends, and I think the wetter the better, because it's just funny, and it's fun when you've got a group of you and you're all laughing. You know, one person will get soaked, another person. It makes the ride experience to me, on top of like how magnificent it is. But having a group of friends on Valhalla and everyone's getting absolutely soaked, it makes it one step better. You know, I don't think anybody would have wanted it to be drier.
No.
Yeah, I mean, we had a look at the water vortex quite carefully during the reimagining, and we decided to keep it in for that reason, and I think that was the right thing to do.
100%.
It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious.
It's like that was the one thing that I was afraid of, was just like loads of the effects that I remember just not being there anymore. And what I was just really happy with, and I went and did it, was I don't feel like a lot has been taken away. All my favorite things are still in there, but it just looks newer, it looks fresher. And like you say, there's going to be tweaks that are going to be being made constantly. But you know, if all the work that's been put into it means it's like a more kind of sustainable ride, and it's gonna have less downtime than it did, then that's what it's going to be worth it, isn't it? In the end,
that was a big aim with it, and you know, we again the aim was to bring it up to date and have a more theatrical experience as you go through, and I think that's been achieved. And it feels more, particularly now, it certainly feels much more cohesive.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, guests come off and they tell us what they think, and sometimes that's brutal, Emma, and then sometimes it's
Honest.
Great, and
I prefer the term.
but, you know, it's a funny ride for us because from operations perspective, it's kind of what I would call a bookend of the day. And what I mean by that is that everyone gravitates towards it as the last ride. Because obviously you're going to get wet and so on. And when we didn't have that, when it was closed, it took quite a lot of getting used to, because you were kind of used. You were used to Valhalla running off as usually one of the last rides to be clear at the end of the day, and so the whole way that your day operates and so on. And again, the guest doesn't really see or think about any of this side of it, but certainly working there, it was and the fact you can hear it from our offices. And so you can hear when it's running and when it's not running and so on. Means it's a critical part of what goes on during the day. It was strange not having it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Very interesting.
It's so funny hearing about it from that perspective, given the fact that my perspective is, because I've actually never ridden it yet, because I just happen to not be able to get myself up to the park during the times when it was open. But like I only started going to Pleasure Beach regularly. Like obviously I went as a kid, but like I haven't started going regularly by myself as an enthusiast until like 2021, I think it was. and I haven't got that frame of reference of when it was open prior to compare it to, the years that it's been closed and stuff. So when I eventually get back to the park, and obviously I'll get on it and ride it when I eventually get back over to England, but
damn straight,
it's just gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see for myself the type of the type of like addition to the atmosphere, obviously to the ride lineup and everything, and see the addition to the atmosphere around that part of the park for myself, like with my own 2 eyes.
I think the outside looks fantastic.
No, yeah.
I mean,
it looks beautiful now. It looks beautiful. I was shocked when I first saw it.
The station is everything. It looks really good now. So in terms of obviously it's Big Dipper's 100th anniversary, and we've just seen the big reveal of the onion. Yay! So
flame. Don't be at
it. So many different names for this thing, isn't there?
Nice gem.
No, there's not. There's one onion.
Onion.
I don't find the myself.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
My question was going to be: is that going to be like the color for it for like the foreseeable future?
I think
or is
so.
It so it's going to kind of be like it's changed color for the 100th anniversary, and that's why it is that color. So I think it looks really smart. To be honest,
yeah, I think it looks good.
I think it looks fresh, but again, it looks modern, and yet it retains. It'd be hard to imagine the Big Dipper without it. Although we have just had it without it for some time.
Yeah,
but
it was very weird going in there and not seeing it there.
It was very strange doing Walk the Woody when you walk around where it was. Obviously.
Yeah,
some different views though. Like, I bet you've seen some really cool views up there without it being there. Looking back through the park, slightly different angle.
You did this little cake at the top, so we've got like a little photo point. But for Walk the Woody, we wanted it to be special. And normally, when someone says to you, "Oh, you can't do something," you try and find a way to do it. And we really wanted for this year to get people doing Walk the Woody to walk up the first drop. Because we hadn't achieved that before, and we were able to do it, and so we thought we'd reward them at the top with a little cake for photo point thing. And everyone that's been on it seems to really like it. So, and the other thing I'm quite proud of regarding that is obviously the ride is having considerable work done, and the marketing term is a glow up, but it's obviously having all this work, and yet we've been able to still carry on with these experiences and do them safely around that. And it does mean, the people that have done it this year have had views and photos and that you're never going to get again. So it's been a really unique experience. So I really kind of feel like we've got it into its stride now, and it's I don't want to sound like I'm overselling it, because I just think it's a genuinely unique experience for people, and particularly this year. So.
Yeah, when me and Joe did it, I genuinely said it's like one of the best. It's like up there with best experience in my life. And in terms of doing any kind of experience, it was my favorite experience I've done anywhere.
I mean, if someone said to me, I don't know, if I could go and walk, I don't know, Wildcat's Revenge, but whatever, that'd be a bit challenging.
Skate down it.
But and I know other parks do these things and so on. But I think the key thing for us is to not rest on our laurels and make sure that we're looking at what we want to do next year.
Yeah. Well, that's it. You don't keep it the same. That's what I really like. You try and change it up, and so it means people can come back and do like repeat walks. And it's like when you added the XL version to the big one, it just added something a little bit extra that like it would attract mainly enthusiasts, because I guess with, I don't know with Big One, but I guess you get all sorts of people who it's not just enthusiasts who do that. I bet you get
I mean, the Big One is a real variation. You get charities, you get people that live in Blackpool that just want to do it, and I totally get that. And then you get enthusiasts, but enthusiasts will gravitate more towards, something like what the Big One XL is deliberately targeted at an enthusiast. And if I get my way, we'll do one on one of our dart rides.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, you heard it here first.
That's what I can do.
Yes.
Yeah,
love that.
I can cope with that.
And obviously you've launched the fan club as well, haven't you? That's new for this year, and that's really they're selling well as well, isn't it?
I mean, we did. I mentioned about we did our first one earlier in the year, and we took people under the Derby race and we walked them through Wallace and Gromit, and the reaction to it again was, kind of like that reaction to the Icon Garden that I mentioned before, and so on. And we've got another one in the summer, and it sold out straight away, which is obviously great. And this one's called Behind the Onion, and we've got some surprises up our sleeve for it, but then we try and just mix it up a bit. And again, it's offering things that people want, experiences. People want to do stuff that other people can't necessarily do normally, and a lot of it is people want stuff for social media as well now. And on this next one, we're taking people up the far side of the revolution, and the main reason for doing that is the photo from there is awesome. And it's not something that you would do normally. So I'm pleased that we're able to do that and do that. I was, when Wallace and Gromit, to do it with 150 people and get them all through safely, and for them to get all the photos that they want and so on. I think it's important for parks to engage with people and engage with their fans, and
absolutely, absolutely.
We want it to be fun, and we want people to come and have a great time with doing these things.
Like you see the effect that albeit just from a social media interaction standpoint, you see the effect that parks with active social media presences has on just engagement with the park and awareness of what's going on at the park, and it has to drive attendance numbers. I can only imagine it does. But
I think it's a big part. I think in terms of
generally speaking, I mean,
I think it's a big part of doing events like this is, if you've got an old, you've got someone like my age and they've got kids and they bring them to the events, the impact it will have on that kid, they may end up being a lifelong Pleasure Beach fan, and it just keeps adding to it then, doesn't it? And you just keep getting more and more people interested into it.
Yeah, it was great to see so many people on the last one, and we like to see people that we see regularly, but it's also nice when you see people that are first discovering parks and so on, and it's exciting for them. So it's I'm pleased that we're doing this, and we'll carry on doing it. But we just need to keep it fresh each time and come up with stuff that people want to do, and not forget, again, like I said at the start of all of this, not forget that something that I see that I might not be as excited by because I've seen it before doesn't mean that the guest isn't going to be wowed by it. There's this bit on Walk the Woody now where we show how they oil the chain. There's this little machine and you fill it with oil and so on. It's automatic, and it's actually really quite a cool little gadget onto these little toothbrushes on the track, on the chain, and you could argue that's not particularly exciting, but actually the reaction to it when you show people it is they're amazed by it, and they all take photos of it and think it's really cool. So I love stuff like that. Really proper geeky. There's stuff that you wouldn't even know was there.
The geekier the better, I think, and it's great that you're thinking of different ways to do things. You're not just resting on this was a success, right? Okay, we'll just keep doing this. No. Let's mix it up. Let's mix it up next year. Let's go this way. Let's go that way. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's great that you're actually thinking from a park standpoint that you need to increase this into a bigger thing, what it is. And with doing the fan club as well, all them different experiences you're providing with that, and doing these extra bits as well that you can pay for to do separately. When you get it all right, it's going to be, you've got a big park, you've got a lot of rides to look around in, and it's very exciting time.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got a favorite Woody in the park?
Yeah, do you know, I really do like the Nickelodeon streak.
Yes,
and I think that's because of my association with riding it when I used to ride it years ago. And you know, I shouldn't say this, but I remember when you rode it without lap bars.
Yeah.
And you know, and I think I also think it's a really, really good intermediate coaster. It perfectly suits Nickelodeon land, and so and I think it looks cool because I can't think of another orange wooden coaster.
Yeah.
I'm sure there is probably one, but yeah, so probably that one.
I love that ride. When it was the roller coaster, I was bribed by my dad when I was younger to go on the ride. So I didn't used to like going on coasters, and I was bribed by my dad. It was this blaster in a store that I wanted. And it was like, if you go on the ride, I'll get you that blaster. And we went on it, and it was like real late at night. Almost the park was closing. And we ended up going around twice for some strange reason. I don't know why, but I've just always got fond memories of it. We just went barreling through the station, back up the lift hill, and I don't think the brakes activated or something. What happened?
Oh, I'm sure they did.
Yeah, it was just that's one of the core memories of that ride. Every time I ride it, I just go straight back to being that kid. And that's what I really like about it. That's why I love Nick Streak. I love it. I always say, guys, you got to ride Nick Streak. It's got some good airtime, some good speed. It's actually a really comfortable wooden coaster, is what I feel.
It's really comfortable.
Yeah.
It's definitely. I always flip between that and Grand National, because I know like Grand National, a lot of people say it's, you know, it can be rough and stuff, but it's so intense. There's just nothing else like it, and it's really, really fun.
Nick Streak
is incredible.
Nick Streak was my favorite of the three. The last time I went to Pleasure Beach, it was legitimately my favorite of the three.
Yeah,
had the best. Maybe it didn't have the strongest airtime, but it had the best. Like, it delivered the best airtime that was actually comfortable for me.
That's some good floater. Like in some areas of it, it rides the hills so well. Like I don't know how it does that, and then some of the other ones are quite forceful, and it doesn't really crest as much. But I remember riding the Big Dipper after that for the first time, and that third drop is
Lord.
So
that airtime, Jesus Christ!
Like,
there's some times that I've been like, wow.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm sat next to someone, so the bar is at like as close to me. Top of that third, wow. No.
Yeah. It's a great moment.
So I want to get into one of these questions, because I'm actually interested in taking it into a space about just enthusiasts that actually work within the industry and stuff. But Coaster Giant Matt says, how did you get into the job of operations director, and what was that journey like to actually get to that point of being operations director? And it's a question that I find really interesting, because just like I said, like the concept of people who are really passionate about theme parks, and the inner workings of them, and how, and like the guest experience, being in those positions of influence, that that actively influence, you know, the guest experience, and being able to put their imprint on that in certain ways. So how was that? What was that journey like for you? And to what extent do you agree that enthusiasts should be actively looking to get into those roles, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, in respect of our own staff, the best thing to do is to start as you do whatever job that you can get, and if you're going to be a ride operator, that's a really good place to start. And we have ride managers, ride area managers, and so on that all started as ride operators and have worked their way up. And it's always the people that those events that they want to work them, those they want to do the evenings and do the experiences, they want to get involved and so on. It's always those people that come on and do well. To get into these kind of positions, it's the best thing that you can do is work in a park. I got my job at Oakwood through working for the company that bought Oakwood, and because everyone knew that I was into coasters, it was a logical thing for me to go there. And I obviously worked there for a few years, and I really enjoyed it, and I've got nothing but fond memories of working there. It was a brilliant little park. And ultimately I got my job in Blackpool through having the experience of working at Oakwood and working at another park. And I didn't start as the ops director, I started as the assistant, but you wouldn't get into those positions without going through those different roles. And quite rightly, because when you come into a park, whenever you start somewhere, I always say this to people joining Pleasure Beach, and it really takes a year to get your feet under the table and get used to how the place runs and who's who and who does what and how what the place, how it operates and so on. And what I think, if you do all of those things, what you'll find is that you're best placed when it comes to these kind of positions. Yeah, and I've never really changed my approaches. I've always been interested. And, if an engineer says to me, "Oh, I'm doing this, do you want to come and have a look?" I'll go and have a look, and I'll find something. I still do those kind of things to this day. And
Nice.
and I think that is ultimately I'm sure for doing engineering jobs and so on, degrees and so on are very important and all of that kind of stuff. But certainly from my perspective, my job came about because I worked in parks and gained that experience.
Nice.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
There's not really a linear. That's the thing in this industry. There's never like.
There's nothing linear about it.
It's no linear answer.
Never.
Is there? Everyone's
Wow.
got a different story, really. No, that's really, really cool.
And I think with that, like everyone has a different story. You hear like a million different stories about how people started working at parks and got to managerial roles, got to designer roles, got to creative roles, etc. Like the stories, like the places that people's stories can take them, I think it contributes so much to how the industry is so small but so big at the same time.
Yeah,
because like we're all so far flung across the world, but then we all know each other. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, we all come to like IAPAs like throughout the year, and everyone is having such in-depth conversation with each other because we all know each other through like, and we all have the passion for the same thing. We all have seen each other at some point, like either in person or online. And
I think that's really really true. And I don't think the IAPA is such a big thing in the industry, and it's great to have that opportunity. I've been so lucky to go to these places and so on, but also when you get there, it's the connections you make, and I've always found when I've been on structured courses, which happens, what I always find the most interesting part is never the course content. It is always talking to the other operators who are on the course about what they do, what issues they have, all of that. That's when you learn stuff, and I've always found that, and IAPA is actually a huge part in that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been to 2 IAPAs now. I haven't been to the one in the US, but I've been to the Europe ones, and it's always it really opened my eyes just knowing that everyone, it's almost like a family, in a way. Like this, everyone knows each other if they've been going for years. And it's even like even people you'd think would be competitors just are like the best of friends, and it's
Oh,
it
yeah.
really opened my eyes.
Like I went to the US one in Orlando in 2021, the year that RMC revealed the trains for Air Force One, and like obviously like I already knew people who worked in the industry in some capacity, but like right there, because there were so many people, like because that expo is so unfathomably huge. Like you get in that convention center and you can't see the opposite wall because the place is so big. So like there was
it has what shocked me was it has like full scale rides set up.
Yeah. Inside as well.
Yeah. I know. It's just like I went on the what is it? The Zamperla Nebula.
Yeah,
I actually hadn't been on one, and I went on my first one of those in the middle of the hall. There, it was great.
Yeah. The building is literally big enough that they can fit nebulas in it. And
that's
like
crazy.
there's like
That's
little frog hopper towers in there and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like I kind of felt like the weight of how many people were just there. So like it was kind of not overwhelming, but kind of a little bit intimidating at first. And then you realize everyone's really, obviously the intricacies of the conversations people are having are different, but like they're all talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
and
at the
like,
core of it, they're all talking about the same.
And at the train reveals, you see like everybody like having very similar conversations, like in the same like intentions and stuff, and you just you feel at home, like in that sense. Sean, you mentioned about like it feeling like a family feel to it a little bit in terms of the relativity and the community kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
I definitely want to go back.
Definitely true.
Yeah. So I think we're going to wrap up there because we've been going for like an hour and 40. We could honestly speak. We could speak to you all night, to be honest. But
we should. We could go for a record.
I've got to feed my cat.
Yeah.
Oh, that's important.
Oh,
That's really important. So yeah, we're gonna wrap up.
Did have one last just question from I can't actually find it now, but Ride Sims asked, have you ever played Ride Sims?
My friend has got one of those where they actually have like the little miniature like control panel.
I've got one. I've streamed Icon.
I've seen
check it
that.
out if you have. Yeah.
I don't know. Yes, I know there's Icon on there, but have I actually played it? No. But I used to play Roller Coaster Tycoon though all the time. I was obsessed with that. So
nice.
I don't know.
That was the best.
From Tycoon.
Also,
makes sense.
The chat really are interested to know what is your cat's name?
Oh,
Biscuit.
Oh. We love cats here. So cat talk is always welcome.
Yeah.
I mean,
don't let the name fool you.
Yeah, I know. Chain cats is not the same, though, is it? Really?
No.
It doesn't sound as mean. Chain.
This is a cat inclusive podcast. We are equal opportunity pet podcast.
But no, thank you so much, Andy, for coming on. And
thank you, Andy.
Just being
a pleasure.
Really generous,
thanks so much.
Really generous with answering a lot of our questions and stuff.
No problem.
Is there anything else you wanted to get in before we wrap up?
No, we've done Big Dipper. I've done the experiences to death. I've done the fan club. We've done Valhalla. And I've advertised Enzo throughout this. So I think
you've done a solid job there.
I mean, I've
everything off the checklist.
100%. I mean, it's controversial, but I love Enzo. I think it's better than Icon. I know that's pretty bad, but I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. But no,
teased RMC coming stuff. I'm joking. I'm joking.
I just want to quickly say, Andy, thanks for inspiring as well in this podcast. Like, I've taken away a lot of I've got a lot of buzz about what I'm currently doing at the moment. And I just want to thank you for being you and for passing that on to us all in the community as well. you always inspire, and you always entertain us as well when we come down and do these events. So thank you so much, and thank you for coming on the podcast.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah. No, thank you. Don't blush.
Yeah,
All right.
And I hope we're friends again now. Thank you.
We're always friends.
Always.
Go for a coffee in Bent's.
Okay. Well, there we have it. That's the end of the show. We'll be back next week live at 8 p.m. on Wednesday. So yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone in the chat. It's been great as always. But yeah, for now, we'll say bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.